Greetings, everyone. Lovely to be joining you today.
Yay, welcome everybody. I am just waiting for the YouTube to start here. And so I can mute it. Okay, good, there we are. We are live on YouTube as well. So welcome everybody who's joining us on YouTube. Go ahead and put your name and location in the comments on YouTube so we can welcome you too. And yeah, let me just say hi to a few of you here. So hi, Annie. Welcome, Barbara in Slovenia. Welcome, Rose in Austria. Welcome, Bonita. Welcome, Margarita. I hope I'm saying your name right. Welcome, Sue in England. Welcome, Maggie in Southern California. Michelle in Florida. Bonita, you're in New York City. Awesome. Welcome, Mark in Boston. Jocelyn in Ontario. Love your name. Welcome, Rebecca in Northern California. Sister Bless in London. Marianne in London. Lottie in Netherlands. Hi, Lottie, good to see you. Valerie in Ireland. Yay, welcome everybody. So James, I'm going to introduce you to everybody just in case anyone here does not know you. We did have James speak one time before for our community in the Aquarian Wisdom Festival in May 2021. So some of you may be familiar with him already from there. But here is the full introduction. So James Gopala lived in India for 5 years and studied at the famous Banaras Hindu University in the ancient holy city of Varanasi from 2009 to 2012. He completed his postgraduate studies with a diploma and master's degree in Indian philosophy and comparative religion. James's academic studies and personal sadhana has focused primarily on yoga, Vedanta, Ayurveda, and Tantric traditions, including extensive personal retreat and immersion into the esoteric teachings of Kashmir Shaivism and training with the Trika school of Tantra Yoga in Rishikesh. He is a Sivananda Hatha Yoga and Astanga Yoga teacher with the Yoga Alliance, as well as a Pilates teacher, Ayurvedic massage therapist, and a Reiki master. James currently runs the award-winning Yorkshire Centre for Wellbeing in Harrogate, North England, and he is dedicated to helping his students heal on all levels, primarily through yogic and shamanic practices. So James, it is truly an honor and a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you for bringing this wonderful topic forward for us, and I will turn it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here to share this with you all. So today we're going to go through a short seminar that I prepared, talking a little bit about my journey, my spiritual experiences, and also focusing more on the dream travel. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So this might just take a second. Okay. So just getting all this technical stuff sorted. Hide floating panel and from beginning. Okay, great. So hopefully that should all be working there. You can all see the presentation.
And, yes, it looks great.
Yeah, brilliant, excellent. So that's the first hurdle over. So great. So the title, Life of a Dream Traveler, Learn the Secrets of Spirituality and Dream Travel for the Western World. Okay, so really my early childhood, I started to have dream experiences. The first memories and recollections I have of being lucid in dreams and remembering my dreams was I was a young boy, and I would run very quickly and jump as high as I could and do like a breaststroke action to try and take off and to fly. And sometimes I wasn't able to jump high enough and I'd come back to earth. And other times I'd manage to get enough sort of momentum and start to fly into the sky. And I'd often be at my at school, at my primary school. I think it's elementary school in the US, as you call it. So really from a young age, I started to have very clear dream recollections. And I also used to have a nightmare And in the nightmare, there was a Mona Lisa, hence this image at the bottom right. And it wasn't something that I had a lot, but it was a reoccurring nightmare. And over time, I began to recognize the process of the dream, the sequence of the dream, and I could actually stop the terror aspect of the nightmare occurring. So I was able to wake myself up before the fear aspect kicked in. And that's really the first time where I started to be able to control my dreams and to wake up in the middle of a dream to become aware that I was dreaming. And that's what we'd understand as a lucid dream, where you're conscious in your dream. It's the waking consciousness within the dream state. And that's a very important part of dream work, dream travel, because that's when we can actually start to control the dream. We can start to direct the dream for certain desired outcomes. Through my, in my teenage years, I started to practice different aspects of spirituality. I actually entered into spirituality through Catholic Christian background, which is my mum's side is Irish Catholic. And at 18 years old, I went to Africa on a gap year. And I was reading the Psalms and the Proverbs, and I was really getting quite into the more slightly mystical teachings of Christianity. And it was during that time, at 18 years old, when I was in Africa, around 3 or 4 in the morning, I became again conscious, and I was being shot up into this sort of higher dimensional reality, characterized by light, frequency, love, and it was blissful. And it felt like literally a shooting up experience, and I was fully conscious. And in this experience of light and frequency, I heard a voice. I was spoken to, and it was just brief, and basically told me to have faith, and it was very reassuring. That was actually 2001, around the time of 9/11, and so this energy, the way I interpret it, it was my higher self speaking to me. It really was a very powerful and profound mystical experience. And really, my life took on a very different direction after that. I think it was brewing at in my early teenage years. I'd had some other spiritual experiences, but nothing quite like that. And again, it was in that dream state where I was in this clear light of consciousness, this beautiful frequency and dimension of energy. And as I returned to the UK after my gap year before university. And during university, I really started to study Indian philosophy. I went to Buddhist society, started to read quantum physics, and I did a yogic breathing practice. I was initiated into something called Sudarshan Kriya. Sudarshan means clear vision. And it's through this Sri Ravi Shankar, this Indian saint here at the bottom left. And I was initiated into what's called Sudarshan Kriya, this breathing technique. And I've used that ever since. And that was when I was about 20 years old, so nearly 20 years now. And that's really evolved as it's been developed as part of my own spiritual practice. So these are some of the early experiences that I've had, which then ultimately led me to India. So after university, I worked at home for about 1.5 years to save some money, with the clear understanding that I just needed to go to India. I just knew intuitively, couldn't explain it. I just had to go to India. And so I did. I took a one-way ticket in 2007, just before my 24th birthday. And so the first picture is me, maybe a couple of weeks in Goa. And I ended up spending 5 years there. 3 of those years I was studying in Varanasi, Indian philosophy and religion. And it was a very transformational time, incredible time, mind-blowing, lots of, I went very deep into the spiritual practice and the spiritual journey. And the second picture is towards the end of my time there. It's actually on my first yoga training. And I really went through quite a journey and a metamorphosis. So here are a few images of when I was in India. So the first one I'll refer to at the bottom in the middle here, that's me outside the Department of Philosophy and Religion at Varanasi at the university there. That would be 2009 when I started my studies. And then I was very lucky to train and to study with two Kashmir Shaivism scholars. I'm not sure if you can see this, my images in the way. In the top right, there's myself with Bettina Bommer, and at the bottom left is myself with Mark Jakoski. These are two very respected Indian philosophical teachers aligned with a particular tradition, Kashmir Shaivism, which was just mentioned in the bio. It's probably the highest expression of Indian philosophy. It's non-dualistic. We're all one. It works with the Shiva and the Shakti, and it's incredibly refined and beautiful philosophy. So I did a lot of study, especially with Bettina, lots of retreats. And top left, this is myself in Goa. 2011. Bottom right, this is on my, again, the Shivananda, the first yoga teacher training in the Himalayas. And in the middle and the top there, that's actually the first ever seminar that I gave in Dharamsala in the Himalayas, where I was teaching the tantric philosophy there. Now, during my time in India, towards the beginning of my journey, the first time I went to Dharamsala, which is in the Himalayas in the north, and it's actually where the Tibetan government in exile are based, and the Dalai Lama. It's the Dalai Lama's home. It's a beautiful place. Again, it's mountainous, and there's lots of yoga and Reiki, and obviously there's a strong Buddhist element there. Now, during my time in Dharamsala, I met a chap called Miguel. So in the bottom left, this picture, I'm on the left and Miguel is on the right. And he was telling me about some of his spiritual experiences and how he went through a very powerful spiritual awakening when he was in Spain. And he had no context to understand it. He had no one to guide him. And he went to the doctors and they tried to put him on antipsychotics. And he was having out-of-body experiences. And fortunately, his boss, and he was a computer programmer, but his boss had had similar experiences and was able to teach him and to guide him in this astral projection process. And Miguel, he taught me this process. He taught me this technique for leaving the body. So whereas lucid dreaming is where you're conscious in your dreams, you wake up in your dreams, astral projection is where you actually physically leave your body, out of body experience. And so he taught me this technique, very simple technique, where you basically do a body relaxation at night. You set the intention to leave your body, and then these vibrations begin if you kind of get it just right. And when the vibrations calm, you essentially get out of your body, you lift up, just like you would normally do getting out of the bed. And if everything has worked correctly, and that, that takes a bit of practice, then you literally just peel off from the physical body. It's literally your astral body is just peeling away, just like this image shows. And so he told me this technique, and I practiced for about 2-3 months. I wasn't doing a whole lot in Dharamsala. I was teaching English to some Tibetan monks and some Tibetan youths. I was studying, I was reading, I was studying a bit of Buddhism, and I was practicing this technique every night. And it literally took 2 to 3 months for me to have this experience, my first full out-of-body astral projection experience. And interestingly, it was during the teachings of the Dalai Lama. He was doing some teachings in February 2008. And he just paused actually in the middle of the teachings to give a blessing. One day he gave a blessing. All the lamas and the Dalai Lama, they prepared a big ritual and they blessed the congregation, which I went to. And it was that night that I had the first experience. And it was incredible. It's just one of those marker stones in your spiritual journey that you'll never forget. It's leaving your body, being fully experiencing the full separation, looking back into the bed, seeing your body there, I'm walking around the room, which is the same but different because you're in a different dimension, looking at the hands, which were glowing green, not red as in that picture, but they're like static glowing green, like you often see ghosts in movies, that kind of green, and just exploring the room. It didn't last long, only a couple of minutes, and then I was back in my body. But it was I was so excited after that happened. I went and saw Miguel, and I was just bouncing off the walls, and because I'd been talking about, all my efforts up into that point, and yeah, it was a real marker stone in my spiritual journey. And then I just kept on practicing, and I was practicing and practicing over the years whilst I was in India, and also when I came back into the UK. So through my studies in dream travel and the whole process of dreaming, I came to really understand sort of the techniques and almost the science behind it. And I actually start to teach, the process of dream travel. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about the process of dreaming and the sort of the dream travel experiences that we can have. So the first thing to recognize is that we go through sleep cycles, okay? And each sleep cycle is 90 minutes each, okay? Now, the first 3 sleep cycles, so the first 4.5, 5 hours, we go into a non-REM sleep. We go into a very deep state of sleep, okay? And that first 4.5 hours, those first 3 sleep cycles are very important for our health. It's for the body to heal, to rejuvenate, to restore. It's very, very important that we get those 5 hours of sleep. After that, the next couple, 2 or 3 sleep cycles are much shallower, if you like, in terms of the depth of the sleep. We're more in REM, a rapid eye movement sleep. It's where we're not in such delta, into deep states of brain waves. We're almost more in like a waking state of consciousness, the REM state. And that is where a lot of these dream experiences happen. This is where we're able to do our astral projections and lucid dreams. So the point being is, you can have spiritual experiences in those first 5 hours, but really those first 5 hours, we just want to make sure we get that good sleep. That's for healing, that's for functioning, that's so we can, be healthy and have a productive following day. It's the following hours, the following sleep cycles where the real magic begins. So different teachers, many traditions talk about dreams, and it's a big part of certain cultures and certain traditions as a spiritual practice. There's a famous Indian yogi from the 20th century called Sri Aurobindo, and he did a lot of this kind of work, astral projection, dream work, and he's got a book here, The Yoga of Sleep and Dreams. Now he differentiates different types of dreams, or the 2 main types of dreams. So he calls them dreams and dream experiences. So the dreams correlate to those first 3 sleep cycles. I call it the pre-3 a.m. dreams. Assuming you go to bed at 10 p.m. and you have the 5 hours, 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep, that's 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. That 5 hours, again, is that deep non-REM sleep, that deep delta state of sleep where the body's again healing and restoring. We do dream during that time, but these are, again, what we call dreams, subconscious dreams. Okay, it's highly symbolic, purely subjective. Okay, so for example, if you're going through a particular experience in life, then you may find that that experience is expressed in these dreams. For example, there's a lot of anxiety, tension in your life. You feel some sort of threat. You might dream you're being chased by a dinosaur. Okay, there's no objective reality to that. It's not actually happening in the astral realm. It's more your subconscious mind interpreting how it's feeling. And so that the first lot of dreams, again, that's what we generally think of as dreams. It's this kind of subconscious, the brain trying to process what's going on. Sometimes it seems very random, but it's highly symbolic. For example, during that period of time when I dream, I'll often dream about old school friends, And each school friend represents a different part of my psyche. For example, one guy represents my intellect. One guy, a friend, represents positive ego. Another friend represents my relationship to money. Another friend represents conflict. So another friend represents a wounded child. So I'll often dream of these characters and the way I relate to these individuals. It's not that I'm actually having dream experiences with them objectively in the astral realm. It's more, again, it's the subconscious trying to process what's going on, how I'm feeling, what's going on in my life. So they're useful, those dreams. It can be a little bit difficult to understand. I kind of, had to keep a record of all these different characters and kind of work out over the years who these different characters were. But really, when we look at astral projection and lucid dreaming, we're looking more at this second type of dream, the dream experiences. So the post 3 a.m. dreams, after we've had that 4.5 to 5 hours sleep, this is when we really dream. We have dream experiences where we leave the body, most of us, unless the body's very toxic. We leave the body and we go into the astral realm, and then we have actual experiences. We can meet people, actual astral bodies come together, and we can explore, we can adventure, we can have all sorts of fun. Now, also that's significant because the 3 to 6 a.m. time, and a lot of you are familiar with this, is a very sacred time for meditation and spiritual experiences. In the Indian tradition, it's called Brahma Muhurta. That means the time of God, essentially, and it's where is the most conducive time for meditation, because the energy is very pure. Just before kind of sunrise, the energy on the planet is very balanced, and your local location is very balanced there. And traditionally, it is the most auspicious time to have spiritual experiences. And it correlates to the time we're generally having these astral travels, and we're having these dream experiences. And then very briefly, the Tibetan understanding recognized there are different types of dreams. The samsaric dream, samsara is the wheel of rebirth, life and death through karma, rebirth coming back. And that's when the desires affect our dreams. So it's also important to recognize that just because sometimes our desires, our fears, or what we desire can influence our dreams, and we can have certain experiences which are actually projections of our desires. We actually can create circumstances in the astral, and it might not be exactly a true sort of visionary or prophetic experience. It might just be a manifestation of our desire. So it's important to recognize that not all dreams or dream experiences are accurate and true. Okay, and this is the real challenge, to really differentiate between what is our desire and what are we personally invested in, and how that manifests in the dream, and what is actually a true dream of clarity. So the second type, a dream of clarity, visions, clairvoyance, astral travel, learning, teachings. This is where we're not creating through our desires and our karmas. We're actually having real, true experiences. And often we can get into having these sort of prophetic, visionary experiences where you might dream of someone who might be upset in the dream. You meet them and they're upset, they're crying. And it might be a family member. You give them a call the next day, I'm just checking you're okay. I had a dream, you were crying. And it's like, and they say, yes, I was upset. And it's interesting you had the dream. And that's happened to me quite a lot, especially with family members. So just to be aware, again, that also includes your astral travel, and you can have all sorts of experiences there, positive experiences. And then you have the clear light dreams, and these are blissful, non-dual. So similar to the experience I was talking about when I was in Africa, when I was shot up into that higher dimension of light and love and bliss. And this is a higher experience when you are going into a higher dimension, a more divine, heavenly dimension of reality. And that's only happened to me a couple of times, but it's very, very powerful. Very beautiful. So again, that's with the Tibetan understanding. Now, we've already kind of mentioned this. Lucid dreaming is where you become conscious while dreaming. You can take control of the dream. And the astral projection is where you consciously leave the body before falling asleep. So the astral projection is much more challenging to accomplish compared to the lucid dreaming. And so I've got a big, long process here, and I teach a workshop and workshops on this process where we go through protecting the space and then all the different processes that we can do, particular techniques that we can do to induce these lucid dreams and these astral projections, and to start remembering the dreams even. And I would say, if you remember your dreams quite vividly, and if you wake up naturally around 3 or 4 in the morning, then I'd say you're absolutely primed to have these lucid dreams and astral projections, because everything is already there in place. Okay, you've already vivid in your dreams. You may have had some lucid dreams in the past. You wake up naturally again 3 or 4 a.m. And that's what happened as I started to practice this. I just started to wake up naturally and automatically at 3 or 4 a.m. And actually that first astral projection, and most of the astral projections I've had, have been in that early hours of the morning, 3 to 6 a.m. I'd fall asleep. I'd do the practice, setting the intention. I'd fall asleep. I'd wake up 3 or 4 a.m. I'd get up, go to the bathroom. I'd go back to bed, do the practice again, the technique again, and that's when I'd have the experience. Okay, so, but even if you don't remember your dreams that much, if you start to use techniques and intentions, then it's going to, firstly, A, you start to remember your dreams, they become more vivid. B, start to become lucid and start to wake up in your dreams. And then C, when you're ready, have that full blown out of body experience, which again is another level altogether. So after the time in India, I returned to the UK. So it was the end of 2012, beginning of 2013, I returned. And so now I'm based in Harrogate in North Yorkshire in the UK. And I run a centre, as Jocelyn mentioned, called the York Centre for Wellbeing. And I run it with my mother and other wonderful teachers and staff. And we won an award a couple of years ago, which was nice to have that sort of recognition for the hard work that we're doing. And what I like to do now is spend a lot of time with community, in ceremony, when I'm not teaching yoga and Pilates. We go to sacred sites, we drum, here on this bottom right with my brothers around the fire. We work with fire ceremony, sharing circles, all these really powerful shamanic practices, as well as the yogic practices on a personal level. And a few years ago, a chap from America came over. It's called the Cosmic Shaman, Stephen Popyatek, and he gave a seminar at the center. This is the gardens of the center, on the Kabbalah, which is really the foundation of the Western magic and mystical tradition, the Judaic mysticism. And he taught us the Pentagram Ritual, and taught me the Pentagram Ritual, which is a very powerful protection ritual where you're using the 5-pointed star to protect yourself and to create sacred space so you can undertake ritual. And actually, when he arrived, in the top left here, there was we were doing ceremonies down in the south of the UK just before we went to Glastonbury, and we were calling in a phoenix and this cube. And then a couple of days later, when we were in Avesbury, we heard about this crop circle just local to where we were staying, and it was a phoenix with this cube head. And we actually managed to go to the crop circle and do a ceremony and meditate in the crop circle. And again, it was a very powerful, very beautiful experience. So some spiritual teachings or some spiritual concepts, things that I've learned. Life is much more challenging in the West than it is in the East. In the East, when I was in India, I could study, I could travel, I could learn, and I didn't have to worry about money, business, the challenges of the Western society. What I really recognize that life is a game of energy. Okay, we waste energy through negative thoughts, emotions, actions, dramas, i.e. karma. We all have trauma to be healed. So spirituality and anything is about how much energy we can put into the process of healing. And if we are so caught up in negativity and negative situations, life circumstances, we're caught up in karma, we're not going to be able to put the energy, the time into the spiritual practice. And so really we move from a life of karma, cause and effect, where we're stuck in these loops, the samskara, the rebirth of life and death and coming back again and again. We keep making the same mistakes. We've got the same sort of beliefs or negative perceptions on ourselves or the world. We have all these dramas and challenges in life. We move from karma, where we're not necessarily living our truth, and we all go through this process, to dharma, and dharma is our duty. It's what we're here to do. It's our mission, our purpose. And moving from karma to dharma is a very important part of the spiritual journey. Why are you here? What is the purpose for you being here? What is the real reason that we're here? We're going through a great awakening now, massive great awakening. The planet is transforming, moving to up levels of consciousness into more of a you could say an ascension process where we're evolving spiritually. And for this to happen, we all really need to come into our dharma, into our power. So the more we meditate, we self-inquire, we understand ourselves, we self-heal, we become sovereign, we break free from the system of control and domination that we're in. We're an invisible prison. If you've never watched The Matrix, do watch The Matrix. It's a metaphor for the reality that we live in. The system, the world we live in is draining us of energy, is distracting us, especially if we're plugged in to the matrix, to mainstream media and everything, especially during the time of COVID. We need to become sovereign. We need to become free, powerful. We need to be in our own truth, where we're not controlled, we're not manipulated. We don't have external sources dictating how we think and how we feel. We can choose how we feel on a moment-to-moment basis. We choose self-empowerment, we choose love, we choose contentment, we choose peace, we choose wisdom, we choose community, and not fear and anxiety. This is so, so important. The more energy we can dedicate to healing and spirituality, the better. This may take massive lifestyle changes. Often we need to make big changes, changing of job, relationships, living location. This can be the scary part, but sometimes we need to do that, and we have to really just check in. How are we feeling day-to-day life? Are we happy? Are we living our purpose? Are we fulfilled? Are we living our dharma? And if not, what do we need to change? What do we need to change to live our dharma, to do what we're here to do? We might need to quit our office job and study massage or whatever it might be. The dharma doesn't have to be a spiritual teacher. It could be an artist. It could be a musician. It could be, it could be a gardener. It could be anything, but it's something that you're passionate about, that brings you joy, not just for the paycheck. At the same time, we need to respect the 4 stages of life. So in the Indian tradition, you have 4 steps of life, split into, assuming someone lives for 100 years, 25 years each. The first stage is the brahmachari, the student, excuse me, is where you go studying. You study all the spiritual truth and the texts, and you go exploring. And that's really what I was doing in India. I didn't have to worry about responsibilities. I had savings, I had funding for my studies, and I could just put all my energy into studying and to spiritual practices and learning different techniques and things like that. But the second stage, around 25 to 50, is the householder stage. This is where we have a family, we have a business, we settle, we actually start to enjoy life, and we have responsibilities. Now that's a stage which is probably out of the 4 stages where spirituality isn't necessarily the main number 1 focus. It might still be a big part of our lives, but there are other priorities. If we have children, if we have to develop a business, there are other things that we have to focus on, and this obviously can take a lot of time and energy. So if you have young children, it's not to get frustrated that, oh, I can't spend all this time studying spirituality, and you just do your best. But bearing in mind, once the kids are grown up, then we move into the third and the fourth stage. The third stage, Grihastha, the forest dweller. This is when we have one foot in mainstream society and one foot in the spiritual world, and we're just kind of balancing the two. And then the final stage, when sannyasi, become a monk, or like a monk, we become fully dedicated to the spiritual path. It's just nice to have that idea, that framework. Sometimes I get a bit frustrated now that I'm more in that householder stage where I'm having to focus on work and things that I don't, can't put as much time and focus into spirituality. But when we retire, or as we get a bit older, we don't have responsibilities of children, for example, then we can really start to put ourselves first. And I teach a lot of sort of middle-aged mothers whose children have left home or getting a bit older, and they have identity crises. And it's like, okay, who am I, separate from my children? And that's often where we get a rebirth, a spiritual rebirth. So just kind of drawing towards the end here, breath, yoga, ritual, dreams, meditation, all constitute sadhana. Sadhana is spiritual practice. And it's very, very, very important that we develop a spiritual practice, regular daily practice, so we're starting to develop spirit discipline. We're starting to practice on a daily basis. Healing occurs physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. So the Indian tradition, there are 5 koshas, 5 sheaths. I'll just show this briefly here. 5 layers, 5 different aspects to our being. The food body, the food sheath, the energy sheath, the mind emotional sheath, the wisdom or intellectual sheath, and then the bliss or spiritual sheath. And healing occurs on all levels. And so there's lots of different practices we can do to keep the body healthy, to maintain our energy, to work with our emotions and direct our thoughts, to develop our wisdom, and to have those deeper meditative and deeper subconscious spiritual experiences and processes there. Our energy, the pranic body, has a direct influence on our health and vitality. So in Ayurveda, which is Indian traditional medicine, says how illness first begins in our pranic body, in our energy body, in our breath body. And so there's a whole process of pranayamic breathing yogic techniques developed within the yoga tradition, which help to charge and move and expand the energy within the body. And I'm sure some of you are very familiar with these. And again, this is the technique, the Sudarshan Kriya, which I mentioned at the start, that I practiced since I was 20 through the lineage with Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And what I found was when I'd wake up, and I do now still wake up around 4 a.m. and I'll get up and I'll do my breath practice. I call it Gopala Kriya now after my spiritual name, Gopala. I found that has profound effect on the quality of the dreams, because actually when we work with the breath and we develop our breath and we develop our energy body, this is the body that we actually use. It's part of the astral body. It charges the astral body. So we have stronger, more vivid, more powerful experiences. There's a whole, when you have that separation in your astral projection, it doesn't just happen and once you separate, everything's fine, you can spend as long as you like out of the body. It's not like that. It really depends on the power, the energy, the charge of the astral body, which is primarily through the breath, that we can spend longer in the astral realm. Normally I would find you'd have like a time limit. You would only be able to stay out for so long. But the pranayama technique really has helped me in my dream work. Also, we need to protect our energy. Okay, so we can do all these fancy things, but if we're not using things like the pentagram or some of the geometry, some other intentions, some spiritual protective meditations, visualizations, we become vulnerable. And so ritual and self-protection is a really important part of spiritual life. Even just simply burning incense. I've got some Palo Santo here, which I always like to burn. It's the sacred Amazonian bark. I always like to burn when I meditate. And then I associate subconsciously the smell with a state of meditation. So this is really beautiful. It's like a sweet smelling incense there. That's a very basic example of ritual, but again, it can be more elaborate to help protect our space, to create sacred space, to protect our energy, to help us stay sovereign, to stay strong in this world, which is just trying to drain us and trying to, feed off us essentially. So a strong energy body, a high frequency state, a healthy physical body, a still mind, a quiet mind. All of these things lead to spiritual experiences. If we can create that high frequency state, then it leads us to have these kind of dream experiences and other powerful and beautiful experiences. For me personally, most of my spiritual experiences happen in the dream state. So that's the really the end of the seminar. So I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you've got something from this. And we've got a spiritual warrior training series coming up, and so we're just going to talk a little bit about that. And that's the pentagram, the 5-pointed star, which the way I understand is the most powerful sacred geometrical symbol. It's very powerful for self-protection. So thanks everyone. Thanks for listening. I hope you have enjoyed this and benefited from this. And again, we're just going to introduce a training series, which I'm going to be delivering in the new year. So I'll stop sharing here, and I'll let Jocelyn. Actually, I'll share the information as I'll let Jocelyn jump in there.
Yeah, thank you so much, James. This is really wonderful. I'm especially intrigued by the idea of working with the breath to charge the energy body and really help us to have deeper dream experiences, because those are two worlds I've kind of experienced separately, breath work and working with my dreams, but not together. So that's really fascinating. But yeah, beautiful to hear about your journey and your experiences and what you have learned from all of this. So thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thank you.
And everybody, if you have enjoyed this and if you would love to learn more about deepening into these sorts of practices, James has put together a really beautiful 4-part training especially for the Sacred Planet community. And so we're going to share that with you today. We're going to share that with you here, the details of it, and you can see if that resonates with you and if you would like to be a part of this. It starts in January and goes through, I think, either early April or late March. But let me just put the link to this page in the chat here on Zoom so that if you want to check it out at your own pace, you can. And you can come here and read more details that are at the beginning of the page and some of the foundation for why James is offering this. You can read more about his work. But if you could scroll down, James, to the beginning of the curriculum where we have when the classes will happen. They're going to be on Wednesdays, the classes, and they will be at 11 a.m. New York time on Wednesdays. So yeah, it says it right here. And so there's going to be 3 really powerful live teaching sessions with James. And these are giving you, well, he'll explain more, but they're going to give you the practices and the teaching so that you will be able to move into having these really deeper dream states. Okay, so we'll meet on Wednesdays. The dates are on the page here at 11 a.m. New York time. Of course, there will be recordings available if you can't attend live. So James, I'll let you take over and share about what will be included in each of those sessions.
Great, thank you, Jocelyn. So the first seminar will be the Gopala Kriya, which I mentioned, which has evolved from the Sudarshan Kriya. It's a breathing practice, the pranayama yogic breathing practice I use on a daily basis. So everything that I'm sharing with you, I use daily. I use as part of my spiritual practice. So charging the energy body with pranayama yogic breathing. So this is about a 25-minute practice that I'll be teaching. And pranayama, prana is life force, like chi, and ayama is to expand. So we are expanding the life force within the body through these different breathing practices. And a Kriya is really just a collection of different practices, which kind of makes a technique, if you like. So I'll be teaching various sequence of practices. So different types of yogic pranayama breathing practices, the Ujjayi breath, working with particular body postures and working with particular ratios of breathing. The Bhastrika, breath of fire, again, and it's a particular sequence. Kapalabhati, which is another strong breath. Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. And the Bhastrika at different speeds and different rates. So this, again, each individual practice can be used by itself, but we put it together as a breathing practice, a holistic, a full Kriya, which takes, again, about 25 minutes. It's very powerful. There's some calming breaths, there's more energizing breaths, and it's very powerful for charging the body. And then it leads to meditation. You can go into meditation for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I'll lead you and I'll teach you all of these different techniques and how it all fits together. And then we'll practice it together and then go into like a meditation. And you'll find when working with all that, the breathing work, you really go into a very deep state of meditation. So even that in itself is a powerful breathing practice, meditation practice that you can use as part of your sadhana, your daily spiritual practice. So that's on January the 26th. On the 9th of February, we'll be looking at spiritual protection and energetic cleanliness. So this is where we go more into the ritual side of things. So with the end goal of dreaming, it's very important that we've protected our space, that we've protected our energy. And so what I'm going to be going through in this workshop, there's lots of different techniques. I'm just being mauled by my kitten. Durga. So we're going through lots of different techniques for creating this a protected, energetic, sacred space, primarily the bedroom. It's very important that we protect our sleeping space, our bed, our bedroom. So introducing concepts of things like crystals, saging, using rattle and drum, but really the focus is going to be on calling in of sacred space and using sacred geometry, using the pentagram. Again, there's the Pentagram Ritual where you call in the names of God, you call in the archangels and the angels, and you mark the different walls, the 4 directions, below, above, and then the final direction of the self, the soul, the heart. And this is a very, very powerful practice. Again, I use every night, and when I'm doing fire ceremonies with the community, I'll be calling in the directions, calling in the archetypes, calling in the energies, calling in the angels to help create a powerful, protected, sacred space. And I'll also teach you the Native American approach as well. So there's actually 2 different ways of calling in and creating sacred space. I actually like to combine both of them together at night, so you kind of be working with different traditions. And then I'll introduce contract revocations. These are scripts that you can say out loud where we're claiming our sovereignty. We're saying no to the system. It might be the government, media, programming, the way we've been programmed, controlled by culture. And we're basically claiming our sovereignty. And it's an out loud spoken contract. We're revoking the contracts that we've basically unconsciously signed up to in this world. It's like karma. We're saying no to karma. We're becoming free of karma, and this can really help break from those negative patterns that we keep finding ourselves in and start to become move more into our dharma and our true essence, our true self. And then the third seminar is March the 2nd. This is dream and dream travel. So this will be where we go through these different techniques for inducing lucid dreams and astral projections. The more information, we've covered a tiny part of the concepts of dreaming in this seminar we've just done now, but I'll go into much more detail. I'll give you the techniques, the way we can induce these experiences, and we'll do a practice, a group practice, where we can practice the actual techniques lying down, seated, and so you have first-hand experience of those techniques. So then you can use those you know, when you go to sleep or when you wake up in those early hours of the morning. And then the final session, March the 16th, we'll just do a Q&A. So we'll have time to review, to recap. I'll answer any questions. It's lovely to hear some of your experiences. You know, there's a bit of space between each seminar, so you have time to digest, you have time to practice. You know, maybe you've had some experiences that, you know, you want some clarity on, some questions about, or you just want to share, and that will give us opportunity to go through, you know, those different questions that you might have. And I'm happy to go into any other further topics that might come up there. Great. So I'll let Jocelyn go through some more of the technical aspects.
Yeah, thank you so much, James, for describing the training. And I think it's so wonderful to have that fourth session that's just an open Q&A, because by then everybody can try out the practices and see how they do, and really, you know, have some experiences, and then come in and ask you any questions they have. So that will be wonderful. Now, the investment, everybody, this, as you can see, this training has a really high value, and so the regular price would be $555, but we have a really special price for all of you until December 22nd. So that's next Wednesday, for $333, and you can choose a payment option, either to make that one-time payment of $333 or to do 3 installments of $131 per month for 3 months. So if you want to join, you are welcome to join now, or anytime in the coming week until the end of the day, New York time, on December 22nd. And I'll put that link in the chat here again, just to make sure everybody has it. Come on over to the page, check it out, you know, see if that resonates for you, see if you'd like to jump in. And it's going to be a really, really profound and powerful journey with James here over the upcoming few months. And James, I'll give it back to you for a moment here, because I know you have just one more thing to share.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Yeah, so just going through some of the things that you'll get from the training. So we'll basically I'll be initiating you into how to create, how to develop a spiritual practice, a sadhana. Okay, so it's that daily practice. If you can start to find that schedule, introducing it to your schedule, using these practices, the breathing, the ritual, something that I do on a daily basis. And that's really important to start to develop that sadhana, that daily spiritual practice. Okay, it will allow you to become more spiritual and more self-aware life, introducing these practices, breath work, protecting your energy. Again, developing the breathing pranayama techniques, which will have a benefit on the health. It's very, very powerful. I find that, I'm starting to do a little bit more cardiovascular, but if I go for runs or go for long walks, I feel very healthy and I don't struggle, because I'm doing this pranayama breathing practices. So it will make you physically stronger, healthier, and very good for the energy body and the cardiovascular system. And again, you'll learn the breathing kriya, the technique, which can be used as part of your daily practice, and then leading into meditation. Then again, the powerful spiritual energetic protection practices. So this is the Pentagram Ritual, Kabbalistic Pentagram Ritual, looking at other ways we can protect ourselves and developing this ability to create sacred space. Very important that we are protecting our energy. We're protecting our space. This is a really important part of spiritual practice. Cleaner and protected personality ultimately allow you to be more confident and effective in your spiritual practice and day-to-day life. Again, it's part of claiming your sovereignty, claiming your truth, claiming your power, and becoming more empowered in your spiritual self, and not being so easily influenced by externals and culture, etc. Become more knowledgeable about the world of dream travel, techniques to induce dream travel. Again, so we're going to be going into the techniques of how to induce the dream travel, the lucid dreams, astral projections, and you'll be able to start remembering your dreams. So that's often what will start to happen if, as you practice these techniques, you start to remember your dreams more. You start to record them. We'll talk about journaling. That then leads to starting to have lucid dreams. And when you start to have a few lucid dreams, we may start to have those astral projections. So really giving you a full spiritual, again, call it spiritual warrior workshop. It's a full workshop, full training. Really, it's a training to help give you the tools, to be more empowered, to develop a spiritual practice, and to then potentially have these amazing spiritual experiences. And this really changes the game. It really, when we start to have those spiritual experiences, very opens us up to the different dimensions of reality, and very, very exciting. And we realize life is far more than just the 3D. And we truly realize that this is a spiritual reality, and we are spiritual beings, and we can start to become more aligned with those truths and that reality. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Jocelyn, for giving me the opportunity to share this information today. Shall I stop sharing now? Is that probably the best time?
Sure. We can go to just full screen with our video now. And yeah, thank you, James, so much for sharing all this. What powerful and really important knowledge for us to have. I think we're living in these just extremely chaotic times, extremely unusual times. And so it's definitely time now to really deepen into our spiritual practice in whatever way feels right for each of us, so that we can know that we're not stuck in this crazy reality. There is so much more available, and we have power to create so much more and to create a very different world as we move forward. But we've got to be able to tap into this to get the insights and to understand how to do that. So it's really, really powerful and important what you're sharing here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So everybody, please ask your questions now. We can do an open Q&A for a little while here. If you have any questions at all, you can put them in the chat. Or if anybody would want to raise your hand and come over on video, I'm happy to bring you over if you'd like to ask a question that way. There is a question here from Mary, and she says, James, what are the benefits of astral travel? It sounds like it is fun and ego satisfying, but in what way is humanity benefited by it?
It's a good question. Yeah, very good question. With astral travel, you can go wherever you like, and you can meet with different beings. And essentially what we can do is we can connect with spiritual teachers. We can have spiritual experiences. We can have spiritual initiations. So what I would do quite frequently would be to call on the guru lineage that I'm associated with, which is the Yogananda, the Baba G lineage. And I would have communications and talks with these different spiritual teachers that are no longer on the planet. And I would get so much from that, getting the blessings and information. Often they just give me advice, spiritual advice, areas that I could focus on, I could work on. Sometimes you find yourself having literally in the classroom, in a yoga class, or in other sort of spiritual education classrooms where you're learning and you're developing your knowledge. So there is a lot to gain, a lot to learn in the astral realm. There's a lot of beings you can, even just calling in sort of loved ones or past loved ones, and you can receive information. You can connect with people, and it's very comforting as well, and it can be very beautiful, and it's a lot of fun as well. There's a lot of adventures to have. You can go to different planets. You can meet soul family, star family. You can meet higher dimensional beings, ETs, and you can learn about your guides. You can connect to the guides and the guardians and the angelics, the different beings that are working with you and helping you. So there's a huge amount you can get from it, and it can really, life isn't easy. And to know that we have these networks of beings and guides and guardians that are working with us and connecting and actually literally having communication and conversations with them, it's very comforting and encouraging. And you can often get a lot of beneficial information and guidance from that as well.
Sorry, I was muted there. And so, James, have you used it, or would you say this could be helpful in finding purpose if people are seeking to find their purpose, or also like receiving those sacred instructions from the universe about what we're meant to be doing? Is this a space where we can ask those kind of questions from our guides?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is where you can go into the dream state with questions, and sometimes I'll do that if there's something I'm not sure about. I have a particular question, and I can bring that intention before I sleep. Or if you're there in the dream state and you're with a guide, and you can ask that specific question, and you can get absolute clarity on those questions and your purpose, and get that advice. So yeah, you could certainly find, if you're having these experiences, having certain questions answered, that you can get a lot of guidance and really come more into the Dharma and the life purpose, and really discover your life purpose. Absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Let's see, we have a question from Margaret. She says, what is the difference between shamanic journey and astral projection? Is the latter a visit to the middle world?
So shamanic journeying tends to be a bit like a visualization, where you are in an alternate state of consciousness, but it's more like a hypnosis. So you're generally awake, and you stay awake, albeit in a relaxed state. You're tapping into a similar realm, into the astral realm. When we astral project, we are fully experiencing it on a full body experience. When you're in a hypnosis or in a shamanic journey, we are aware that we're physically in the 3D, and we're experiencing the journey within the mind. And we can, the imagination, we start to go into the alpha brain waves. We start to have those almost like the daydream state, and we're experiencing it, but within the mind's eye. And when we astral project, it's not just something we experience while lying in the bed. We are experiencing it just like the full body, like we are now. It's a full body experience. Our whole being has actually left the physical body, albeit obviously there's a connection there. So they are similar. You're going into a similar state of consciousness, but the astral projection is far more realistic. It is a very physical experience, whereas the shamanic journeying tends to be a little bit more, again, within the mind's eye. But you're still going into similar realms of reality, into that astral realm.
Okay, yes, thank you. Darlene says, when you mentioned a toxic body, I thought about how illness and or age may affect one's experience with dreaming, either lucid or astral dream travel. So yes, what would you say about that? I know these practices that you're sharing are meant to help clear a lot of that toxicity, but yeah, what if people are concerned about illness affecting their success in the program or that kind of thing, what would you say?
Yeah, I'd say that certainly there are for example, certain foods or eating habits that can really affect the dream state. So having a heavy evening meal is not going to be conducive to dream experiences. What I would say is, if you are, it's hard to say if someone with particular illnesses, how that's going to influence the dream experience. I believe that everybody has the capability of having these experiences. It might be more challenging for some, if we're on, say, medication or have a particular diet or particular state of health. But I strongly believe that in fact, we all do have these experiences. We're just not conscious of them. We don't remember them. So there may be some hindrances, but I believe that we're all in. This is something we should all be experiencing. This is part of what it means to be human, to be a spiritual being on earth, is that it's accessible to everyone. I believe it's an ancient skill and ancient spiritual practice, which, the Egyptians and many other ancient traditions had full knowledge of, and certain cultures still have full knowledge of. And it's part of the culture, and we've lost that teaching. And so I believe there are factors that definitely do influence the quality of dream. Like if you're very tired, it's going to be more difficult. Again, it's a game of energy. So if we need that surplus energy to have these experiences, but it's something that we're all capable of experiencing. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would think that through doing these practices, you're going to share, when we start doing practices that bring us into a higher state of consciousness, we naturally want to adjust what we're putting into our body, right? We naturally want to adjust the food and be more aligned with food, or be more aligned with our environment. So I just feel like doing the program on its own would be very healing, even outside of any dreaming goals, but may also bring that benefit as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Each seminar can be used by itself as its own practice, and each seminar is going to hold a lot of benefit just by itself. And then putting it all together, if it's all, each seminar supports the other. So you have the overall benefit of combining into that the dream experiences. But yeah, absolutely. Just working with the breath, doing the spiritual protection, and even just becoming aware of the types of dreams and starting to journal, and just by simply setting that intention to become more aware of the dream experiences, we can really start that journey of developing the dream travel.
Yeah, beautiful. I am just looking on YouTube as well to see if anybody's watching on YouTube and you want to put a question in the chat for James. I am checking over there too, so don't be shy. And also on Zoom here. Anybody have any more questions? And Valerie, I see your question, but I think we just answered it with responding to Darlene's. It was also about, is this a good idea? I guess the Valerie's is a little different though. Is astral projection a good idea for someone who has had a lot of health challenges? That's a little different.
There's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't stop you, or it should stop you. It should have no influence there on whether or not you should be able to astral project. Like I said, if you are, again, it's more about the intention and the practice. And if you have that true intention to have these experiences, and you have the discipline to practice, again, these things, they take practice. It takes some discipline. But if you have that discipline and you do the practices, then there's absolutely no reason why you can't have those experiences. Yeah, it's more about the attitude and the commitment to the process that really counts. It's like when I was in India, and I just really could just practice on a daily basis. If you really have that commitment, then you'll have the experiences. But again, it can happen in stages. We start to remember our dreams more. We're journaling. When you journal, then you're developing that process of recollection. And then as we start to remember our dreams more, we can start to become lucid. We can start to become aware of these different moments in the dream where we become conscious. And then that can ultimately lead to astral projections. So yeah, if you have the intention and the desire to do this, then it's very accessible.
Beautiful. Valerie has one more question here. Which is more healing, lucid dreaming or astral? I don't know if there's a gradations of healing.
Well, to be honest, the lucid dreaming has many benefits compared to astral projection. The thing with lucid dreaming is when you wake up in your dream, the reality of the dream is solid, because there are physics to the astral realm, and also there are lots of factors that influence the solidity of the dream experience. So when you wake up in a dream, you're already in a lucid dream. Everything is fixed, and you can have a much longer, prolonged experience. When you astral project, again, you leave the body, but often you leave and there might be no vision, or you get stuck to the bed. There are different things that we have to do to strengthen the reality. So one of the things I like to do is rub the palms, and you're creating that sense, that tactile sense, looking at the hands and seeing the hands. So there are certain things you have to do once you leave the body. That first experience I had in Dharamsala, I didn't have to do any of that. I was just out in the astral, but it only lasted a minute or so. When you're in a lucid dream, it can last much longer, because again, you don't have to kind of create the reality. So which is more healing? They to be honest, really, they're both the same. and you're going into the same state, but one, the astral projection, it feels more amazing, but it takes more work. The lucid dream is a little bit easier to create, but it's once you're there, and you don't, you're less likely to lose it and to come out of it. And so they're both very healing, but it's really about, okay, again, once you're out, it's like, then what? Then what? What do you do with it once you're conscious or once you've left the body? That's the key. And you can leave. And that's sometimes I'd leave and I'm like, okay, I don't have a plan. So what do I do? But if you have a plan, okay, I'm going to call on this person. I'm going to call on this saint. I'm going to call on this teacher, and going through all these different, working with these different guides and gurus and teachers and family members or whoever. So really, they're both ultimately can lead to the same result, where you have the control and the ability to have these beautiful spiritual experiences, calling in these certain spiritual teachers and healers.
All right, wonderful. And there's another question from Jocelyn. She's saying, I wonder if you can elaborate on the pentagram in the context that you're referring to.
So the pentagram, basically what it represents is you see the Leonardo's man, the five with the arms, the legs and the head. So it represents the spiritual being, the human being, and the 5 points represent the 5 elements. So it's often used in ritual, in magic, we make offerings to the 5 elements, and it's the 5 or the 4 directions, and the soul, the self, the soul, self within. So it's geometry, the whole of reality is based on geometry, energetic structures that form reality. And so the pentagram is one of those geometries that is found in all traditions. It's somehow it's related to the macabre and the 6-pointed star, but it's but you'll see it it represents again the spiritual man and connects to the 5 elements. And it's from my experience, I've worked with different geometries, but it's really is the most powerful of all the sacred geometries. And again, it's used within the Kabbalistic tradition as well. And you actually, when you're saying Yod He Shin Vov He, and so that is Yahweh is the name of God, and your each point of the triangle has a different syllable, and basically Yod He Shin Vov He, it's Yahweh plus Shin, Yod Ve Shin Vov He, and the Shin is the feminine, the Shekinah. So basically, what you're saying is Mother, Father, God. Yeah, it's working with the 2 principles in the Indian tradition. We call it Shiva Shakti, just up here in the corner. Shiva and Shakti, the divine masculine, the divine feminine. So ultimately, what you're doing is you're invoking Mother, Father, God, Yod He Shin Vov He, and it's very powerful. You're imprinting that to the different walls. So yeah, again, from my experience, that is the most powerful geometrical protective mechanism.
Beautiful. I think we all need that in this world that we're in today. We need that kind of support and protection, and really connecting in with the other planes and our guides. So yeah, thank you for your depth of knowledge about this. It's really powerful. I'm just looking at this comment from Darlene. Let's see. Do you ever include plant medicine in your practices?
Do I ever include plant medicine in my practices? Well, certainly, if you take mushrooms, you can have, it can induce these, you can certainly have more vivid dreams. Coming from North England, the only really native plant medicine would be the mushrooms. And so I've had a bit of experience there. So I don't actively do it, but every now and again when I do ritual, which doesn't happen very often, but I might take some mushrooms with the ritual, and then you do have more vivid dreams. So it can be integrated. It's not something that I've had a huge amount of experience with, but yes, certainly certain psychedelics, plant medicines, entheogens can have certainly a strong impact on your dream experiences.
Let's see. And Margaret just has a comment here. Thanks, James. Great comparison of lucid dream versus astral projection. I often enter astral projection from a lucid dream, and then I usually lose my vision in astral and float around blindly. I will try rubbing my hands together to stay in it.
Yeah, try and look at your hands and create the vision by seeing the hands. But that's one issue that does happen. It's not having the vision, which can be annoying. But yeah, it's part of the process.
All right. Well, I think that is all of our questions. So thank you again, James, for this presentation, for bringing us this wealth of knowledge. And thank you so much for the upcoming class. I am very excited to attend it. And and really excited to work with you on this. And I welcome everybody. If this resonates for you, it's a really unique opportunity. This is not something that I see being offered, in other places. So I really welcome you all to come in and go on this adventure with us starting in January. And yeah, it's going to be very powerful. And as you can see, James is a wonderful teacher and a wonderful guide for this kind of work. So welcome all of you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you for everyone joining us today. It's just been great to share this, and I feel this is part of sort of my next step in my Dharma. And I'm just very excited to be able to share this. So thank you for giving the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, James. And yeah, lots of love, everybody. Thanks for attending live, those who are on here live, and thanks for watching this as a recording. To all those who might check it out later. We are sending you lots of love and blessings for the solstice and the holiday season ahead. So yeah, and James, thank you again. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day as well.
Thank you, Jocelyn, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Yeah, and I hope to see you in the new year.
Blessings. Bye.